Happiness arrives quietly, yet some push it away. They see opportunity and retreat, joy and resistance, love and doubt. The mind becomes both sanctuary and obstacle, building walls against its own well-being. Self-sabotage is not ill intent, it is a reflection of fear, expectation, and unresolved patterns. The mind grapples with worthiness, control, and identity, often undermining pleasure even as it seeks it. Each choice, small or significant, carries the potential for creation or quiet destruction of contentment. This story explores the psychology of self-sabotage, why the mind resists its own flourishing, how patterns of thought, emotion, and past experience drive destructive cycles, and how awareness can illuminate the tension between longing and resistance. Happiness arrives softly, yet the mind sometimes recoils. A compliment feels heavy. A moment of success triggers anxiety. Even small pleasures are tinged with unease, as though joy itself carries a hidden cost. Resistance is rarely loud. It manifests in hesitation, overthinking, or procrastination. The mind questions, am I worthy of this? Will it last? What if I fail or lose it? Each thought nudges the individual away from fulfillment, often without conscious awareness. Fear is subtle but persistent. The mind anticipates disappointment, betrayal, or loss. Even when nothing has gone wrong, patterns of past hurt and expectation whisper warnings. Don't get too close, don't allow too much. Happiness becomes suspect, a fragile guest that the self cannot fully embrace. Perfectionism reinforces resistance. The belief that joy must be earned, deserved, or flawless makes ordinary pleasure feel insufficient. Success feels incomplete until the mind measures it against an ever-moving standard. When standards are impossible, delight is postponed or rejected altogether. Control is another driver of self-sabotage. Allowing happiness requires vulnerability, unpredictability, and uncertainty. The mind often prefers discomfort that it can predict over pleasure that feels uncontrollable. Even triumph can feel threatening if it challenges identity or exposes hidden insecurities. Subtle comparison fuels the cycle. Observing others' happiness can evoke envy, fear, or self-critique. The mind anticipates judgment, internal or external, and dampens its own joy preemptively. Happiness becomes fragile, policed by doubt and the fear of appearing undeserving. The resistance is paradoxical. The mind both longs for and avoids pleasure. It is a dance of approach and retreat, curiosity and caution, desire and doubt. The individual may pursue happiness outwardly while undermining it inwardly, creating tension, frustration, and internal conflict. Even routine decisions carry weight. Choosing to celebrate a small achievement, to accept kindness, or to rest, these moments are often sabotaged by distraction, doubt, or obligation. The mind erects invisible barriers, small but persistent, each one reinforcing the pattern of resistance. Awareness is the first fissure in this invisible wall. Noticing hesitation, discomfort, or doubt allows reflection. Why do I resist what feels good? Without judgment, curiosity reveals patterns that were previously unconscious. The hidden resistance becomes visible, and in visibility lies the possibility of choice. Ultimately, self-sabotage begins here, in hesitation, in doubt, in the quiet voice that questions joy before it can be embraced. The mind, guarding against perceived threat, paradoxically blocks its own flourishing. Understanding this subtle resistance is the first step toward compassion, insight, and the gentle cultivation of happiness. Self-sabotage often begins long before awareness takes shape. It is seated in early life, in words overheard, reactions observed, and lessons absorbed. A child witnesses tension between desire and restriction, joy and warning, freedom and expectation. These impressions quietly form a blueprint for how happiness will be approached, feared, or denied. Attachment patterns play a powerful role. A caregiver's unpredictability, criticism, or absence teaches that love and attention are conditional. The mind learns to anticipate withdrawal or disapproval when it seeks connection, success, or pleasure. As an adult, this manifests as self-imposed limits, avoidance of success, reluctance to celebrate, or a persistent sense of unworthiness. Early conditioning reinforces caution, praise is inconsistent, mistakes are magnified, curiosity is curtailed. The child internalizes the idea that satisfaction is fleeting or risky. Joy becomes bound to obligation or guarded by anxiety. I cannot trust that I deserve this. These lessons, often subtle, shape adult patterns of hesitation, resistance, and covert self-sabotage. Social learning compounds the effect. Observing others' disappointment, failure, or restraint models a world in which happiness is uncertain. Children notice when ambition is punished, when desire is mocked, or when success breeds envy. The mind internalizes these narratives, creating mental rules. Pleasure carries consequence, comfort must be earned, satisfaction is temporary. Perfectionism emerges naturally from these roots. If approval is conditional and mistakes are amplified, the mind learns to preempt disappointment by controlling behavior, restraining desire, and moderating joy. Achievement becomes a test, not a celebration, and contentment is measured against impossible standards. The child who is careful to avoid disapproval becomes the adult who avoids happiness. Fear of vulnerability is central. To experience joy is to expose the self, to risk loss, shame, or judgment. Past experiences embed the belief that such exposure can be dangerous. Thus, the mind erects invisible barriers, safeguarding from imagined threat while paradoxically denying pleasure. Patterns are reinforced across time. Failures, missteps, or even minor disappointments confirm early lessons happiness is fragile, fleeting, or unsafe. The cycle becomes self-reinforcing. The mind anticipates harm, acts defensively, and then validates its own caution. Self-sabotage is not random, it is a learned strategy rooted in survival, adaptation, and protection. Yet understanding the origins allows liberation. Recognizing the influence of early conditioning illuminates the patterns without blame. Self-sabotage is not weakness, it is a protective mechanism honed by experience. The mind can begin to question the validity of these old rules, gently exploring what it might accept, embrace, or allow. Ultimately, the roots of self-sabotage lie in care, caution, and survival instincts shaped by childhood. They are old strategies applied to new circumstances, echoing lessons learned in formative years. Awareness of these roots is the first step toward cultivating choice, compassion, and the quiet courage to allow happiness to flourish. The mind is a storyteller, and sometimes its stories are unkind. It interprets, evaluates, and predicts, but not always accurately. Cognitive distortions are the subtle scripts that twist reality, shaping perception in ways that undermine happiness before it can fully arrive. Catastrophizing is common. A small mistake becomes proof of inevitable failure. A minor disappointment signals a pattern of personal inadequacy. The mind anticipates disaster, inflating consequences, and preparing the self to preemptively withdraw from pleasure. Joy feels risky when it is interpreted as fragile or fleeting. Black and white thinking reinforces resistance. Success or happiness is either total or undeserved. The gray areas, the small victories, modest pleasures, or quiet moments, are minimized or ignored. The mind sets impossible standards, denying the incremental experiences that form the substance of contentment. Guilt is a frequent companion. Desiring happiness can trigger internal rebuke. I shouldn't feel this way. I don't deserve it. Someone else needs it more. Pleasure becomes morally complicated, and the mind punishes itself for seeking or enjoying it. Even small indulgences feel like transgressions, reinforcing patterns of denial. Personalization distorts perception of events. External circumstances, successes, failures, conflicts are interpreted as reflections of inherent flaw or inadequacy. The mind claims responsibility for outcomes beyond control, creating internal tension and self-imposed limitation. Happiness is delayed or rejected because it feels unearned or unsafe. Filtering emphasizes negatives. The mind magnifies shortcomings, risks, or threats while minimizing achievements, support, or opportunity. This selective attention reinforces a narrative of scarcity: not enough success, not enough recognition, not enough rightness to permit joy. All these distortions combine subtly but powerfully. They shape thought patterns, behavior, and emotional response. Even conscious intention, wanting to feel joy, meets invisible resistance, a cognitive architecture built to protect, predict, and anticipate failure. Self-sabotage thrives in this mental landscape, quietly guiding choices away from satisfaction. Yet these distortions are neither permanent nor unchangeable. Recognition is the first step. Noticing black and white thinking, catastrophic anticipation, or unwarranted guilt creates space for reflection. Curiosity replaces judgment, allowing the mind to question, is this story true? Does it need to govern my happiness? Ultimately, cognitive distortions reveal how the mind, in service of safety and control, can block its own flourishing. The patterns are not proof of inadequacy, they are echoes of protective strategy, maladapted to the possibility of joy. Awareness allows the first crack in the wall, the first moment of choice to pause, reflect, and consider happiness as something attainable, safe, and deserved. Happiness carries a quiet weight. The mind, scarred by past experiences or innerized judgment, often approaches joy cautiously, as though it were fragile or dangerous. Beneath desire lies fear of loss, fear of disappointment, fear of exposure. Shame is a subtle but potent force. It whispers, you are not worthy. You do not deserve this. Even when accomplishments or opportunities arise, the mind hesitates, sensing that fulfillment conflicts with self-perception. Pleasure feels provisional feels fragile, and fragility demands restraint. Fear fuels hesitation. The unknown within happiness, its impermanence, unpredictability, or social visibility creates anxiety. The mind imagines scenarios where delight is interrupted, stolen, or judged. Rather than embrace the present, it prepares for hypothetical loss, erecting protective barriers that block genuine enjoyment. Anxiety and anticipation intertwine. Moments of potential happiness trigger mental rehearsal of negative outcomes. The mind predicts rejection, failure, or embarrassment, even when evidence suggests safety or acceptance. Self-sabotage becomes an attempt to preempt harms. Denying oneself prevents disappointment, even if it also denies joy. The paradox is stark. The mind craves pleasure, connection, and contentment, yet it simultaneously fears exposure to vulnerability, disappointment, or self-perceived inadequacy. Happiness becomes both desired and threatening, a delicate tension the individual navigates, often unconsciously. Emotional memory reinforces patterns. Past experiences of criticism, loss, or rejection embed implicit lessons. Pleasure is temporary, fulfillment is unsafe. The mind extrapolates these lessons onto present opportunity, shaping behavior in anticipation of potential harm rather than actual circumstance. Self-sabotage is thus emotional strategy disguised as obstacle. It is protection in the language of avoidance, resisting intimacy, postponing joy, undermining success. The mind believes it is preserving safety, even while limiting growth and fulfillment. Yet emotion is not destiny. Awareness allows recognition, noticing fear, shame, and anxiety without judgment, observing how these feelings influence choice. The tension between longing and resistance becomes legible, revealing patterns that were previously opaque. Reflection softens the grip of old emotional scripts, opening space for conscious action and gentle risk-taking. Ultimately, the emotional underpinnings of self-sabotage reveal deep human complexity. The mind's protective instincts, shame, fear, anxiety, are adaptive, crafted to preserve security. Yet in modern life, these same mechanisms can paradoxically restrict flourishing. Understanding them is the key to navigating the delicate terrain between desire and defense, fear and joy, hesitation and embrace. Self-sabotage is rarely only a thought, it lives in behavior. The mind translates hesitation, fear, and doubt into patterns that quietly block happiness. These behaviors are the visible echoes of internal resistance, shaping reality as surely as intention shapes action. Procrastination is a common manifestation. Task opportunities or moments of potential joy are delayed, postponed, or ignored. The mind justifies delay with rationalization: later is safer, now is risky, I need more preparation. Time passes, chance fades, and happiness remains out of reach, postponed by the very mechanism meant to preserve security. Avoidance is another pattern. The individual sidesteps situations that might bring pleasure or success. Social gatherings, new experiences, or career opportunities become sources of subtle anxiety. The mind interprets potential discomfort as reason to retreat, even at the cost of fulfillment. Self-imposed limitation becomes habitual, and opportunity is quietly forfeited. Relational interference extends the pattern to others. Self-sabotage can manifest in pushing loved ones away, rejecting intimacy, or testing bonds. The mind fears exposure, vulnerability, or dependence. By creating distance, it avoids potential pain, but also sacrifices connection, love, and support. Relationships, like personal achievements, are subtly undermined before they can flourish. Perfectionism and overcontrol shape behavior further. Tasks are overplanned, achievements overanalyzed, and expectations overextended. The mind postpones enjoyment until conditions feel perfect, a standard rarely attainable. Joy is deferred indefinitely, leaving the self in a constant state of preparation rather than experience. Self-sabotage can be cyclical. Behavior reinforces internal scripts, avoidance confirms fear, procrastination validates doubt, relational interference confirms vulnerability. The mind experiences each failure as proof that happiness is unsafe or unattainable, strengthening the very patterns that block it. Even small choices carry weight. Declining an invitation, dismissing praise, or resisting self-care are acts of quiet sabotage. Each seemingly minor decision compounds, shaping an environment in which happiness is limited and success feels tenuous. Yet behavior is not destiny. Awareness of patterns allows subtle intervention. Procrastination can be paused and reframed. Avoidance can be approached gradually. Relational distance can be softened by deliberate vulnerability. Choice re-enters the picture when action is observed rather than reflexively executed. Ultimately, self-sabotaging behavior is a form of protection disguised as limitation. It preserves the mind from perceived threat, but at the cost of lived experience. Understanding these patterns, how hesitation, avoidance, and overcontrol manifest, illuminates the path toward conscious choice, gradual risk, and the reclamation of happiness. Awareness is the quiet turning point. It begins with noticing the subtle hesitation before pleasure, the internal voice that questions, the repetitive patterns that interfere with joy. Observation without judgment is the first act of liberation. Reflection illuminates patterns that were previously invisible. The mind examines the scripts of fear, shame, and doubt, recognizing how they shape choice and behavior. Moments of self-sabotage are no longer mysterious, they are understandable, connected to past experience, emotion, and cognitive bias. Insight reveals paradox. The very mechanisms designed to protect the vigilance, the caution, the anticipation of harm now obstruct flourishing. Self-sabotage is adaptive in origin but maladaptive in application. Recognizing this allows the mind to disentangle intention from habit, desire from resistance. Awareness fosters gentle curiosity. Rather than punishing oneself for avoidance or hesitation, the mind can explore: why do I resist happiness? What am I afraid will happen if I allow it? Questions, rather than judgments, open space for choice and for experimentation with new behaviors. Reflection also highlights opportunity. The mind can identify moments where joy was denied unnecessarily, patterns that recur, and triggers that provoke resistance. Each observation is a doorway, a chance to pause, intervene, and respond differently. The repetition of old scripts need not dictate future behavior. Mindfulness bridges awareness and action, noticing the urge to sabotage, acknowledging it without shame, and allowing deliberation creates the possibility of alternative response. Even small interventions, pausing before procrastination, leaning into pleasure despite doubt, retrain the mind, subtly reshaping habits over time. The process is gradual and compassionate. Self-sabotage cannot be eliminated instantly, nor should it be condemned. It is an adaptive mechanism that has served a purpose. Through awareness, the individual can honor the protection it offered while gently loosening its grip, allowing space for pleasure, fulfillment, and presence. Ultimately, awareness and reflection transform self-sabotage from invisible tyrant into conscious dialogue. The mind begins to witness itself without judgment, to navigate hesitation with intention, and to balance caution with the capacity to experience joy. Insight does not coerce happiness, it nurtures the conditions in which happiness can emerge organically, safely, and fully. Self-sabotage softens when the mind learns to be gentle with itself. Happiness is fragile, but not forbidden. The mind, long trained in caution, begins to recognize that pleasure and fulfillment are not threats, they are experiences to be welcomed, observed, and savored. Compassion begins with acceptance. The individual acknowledges patterns of hesitation, avoidance, and self-denial without judgment. Each act of sabotage is seen as a protective strategy, once necessary, now outdated but understandable. The mind stops punishing itself and begins to listen instead. Forgiveness becomes practice. Past choices, missed opportunities, and repeated patterns are not evidence of failure, they are echoes of survival mechanisms. Acknowledging mistakes or avoidance without condemnation frees energy for curiosity, engagement, and experimentation. Happiness is no longer contingent on perfection or earnedness, it is allowed simply because the mind exists, and existence itself is enough. Small steps cultivate trust, engaging with joy gradually, leaning into experiences without overanalyzing, and embracing vulnerability in manageable doses reshapes the internal narrative. Each small victory, accepting a compliment, completing a task, allowing connection, builds confidence in the mind's capacity to experience happiness safely. Integration harmonizes past and present. The mind reconciles protective instincts with the desire for fulfillment. Fear remains as it always will, but it is no longer a tyrant, it is a guide, a signal, a reminder to proceed with awareness rather than avoidance. Patterns of self-sabotage are acknowledged, not erased, woven into a broader tapestry of resilience, insight, and choice. Self-compassion transforms experience from battle to dialogue. The mind nurtures itself, recognizes its own worthiness, and allows pleasure without guilt or suspicion. Happiness becomes a possibility, accessible not through force, but through care, presence, and gentle engagement. Ultimately, self-sabotage is understood as a mirror, a reflection of fear, protection, and past conditioning. When met with awareness, reflection, and compassion, it loses its power to dominate. The mind can choose to pause, to allow to feel, and to flourish. Happiness is no longer a fleeting guest to be feared. It becomes an experience the mind can welcome with trust, curiosity, and patience. In gentleness, the cycle softens. In reflection, the grip loosens. In compassion, the individual learns to step toward joy without resistance. Self-sabotage remains a teacher, not a jailer, and the mind discovers that it can both protect and allow itself to be fully alive.